Hey everybody, welcome back once again to another episode of 100 Films in 100 Days. This is Ryan from Ryan's Reviews, and I decided to watch another movie today. So if you watched my episode yesterday and you watched the end, because I always say what movie I'm going to watch next, I decided today to watch Big Trouble in Little China. I forgot to show the DVD case when I was saying the name of it, but I don't feel like doing another take. It's directed by John Carpenter and starring Kurt Russell. It's released in 1986 and it was a commercial flop, but now it is considered a cult classic. So what exactly is this film about? Basically the film is about this man named Jack Burton, who's a 18-wheeler truck driver, and he gets in a bet with his friend Wong, and he wins the bet, and Wong owes him money, so he's hanging around Wong trying to get his money back. And then Wong has to meet his fiancée at the airport, who came from China to come visit and for them to get married. But she gets intercepted and is taken by Mr. David Lo Pang, who is an old evil sorcerer who, I know this sounds really crazy so far, this is gonna get really, really weird, who uses old Chinese black magic to somehow live forever. No, he's supposed to live forever, but he doesn't really have a real mortal body. He's just a weird corpse, but he can also make himself 7 feet tall. And it's really weird, but awesome. So basically Lo Pang captures Wong's fiance because she has green eyes, and the prophecy or whatever curse he has is that if he marries a Chinese girl with green eyes, then he will have a mortal body again, which is what he wants, because he can't die or something like that. So Jack, Wong, their friend Eddie, Gracie, who is a lawyer who also works with them, and then also a reporter named Margot. I forgot the character's name. They all together go and try to save his fiancée from Lo Pang. What's her name anyways? I think it's Miao Yin. I can't remember if that's who that is, but yeah. So basically, I think this film takes a lot of elements from a lot of old Kung Fu movies, and there's different types of Kung Fu movies from different eras. So there's some Kung Fu movies that are much more mystical and about ancient Chinese history, and has a lot more magical stuff. And then there's a lot of Kung Fu movies which some people like to call Gun Fu movies, which involve gunplay and shooting people and stuff like that. And then there's some that are a little mix of both, and this mixes a bit of both. Well, there's some around this time, around contemporary time, when this film was released in 1986, there was a lot of Kung Fu movies coming out, such as Hard Boiled. I don't know if that came out right around then, but Hard Boiled is a big one. And then I think there's another one, stuff Police Story, Jackie Chan, Police Story, that's a big one. A lot of Jackie Chan movies implement some Kung Fu stuff, while it's a lot more hand-to-hand stuff. This sort of plays on some of that and makes fun of it, and it mixes a bit of also American action films where, you're just shooting people all the time. And really, because it takes that sort of American influence, I think that this also influenced a lot of Hong Kong cinema, a lot of Kung Fu movies, where they're shooting with guns, and it's like an American movie. They took inspiration, and Americans took inspiration in order to make this. Because you have all these Chinese characters, doing hand-to-hand combat, using special powers, magical powers, black magic powers, as they call them. And then you have Jack Burton over here with a semi-automatic, he's got an Uzi, or something similar to an Uzi, and he's just shooting people and mowing them down. And it's funny. It's funny, the whole parallel, or not really a parallel, the juxtaposition is the word I was thinking of. I'm not a linguistics specialist, but I do my best. The thing I really like about this film that is very similar to a lot of American action films, it's sort of like this guy who's just thrown into this situation and tries to make the best of it. Because there's a lot of Hong Kong Kung Fu movies where it's almost like, oh, you're the chosen one, or you're something special. And there's some American action movies that are like that too. But this is just a guy who just happened to be in this situation and was just like, well, I guess I'm rolling with it. The main villain, David Lo Pang, is played by James Hong, who often plays the pervy old Asian man in a lot of films. He's the stereotypical old Asian pervert, which is funny considering this film. And also he's trying to marry a young girl. Not young, but in her 20s, and he's 1,000 years old. One thing I think that this film kind of inverts from a lot of other films is how Jack Burton is almost like an anti-action hero, in the sense of in a lot of films, the villains will know who the main character is. They'll be like, oh no, we can't deal with him, he's gonna come fuck us up, like in Commando or something like that, oh damn, he's coming for us. But in this, Kurt Russell's like, oh, you know what Jack Burton says in a time like this? And they're like, who's Jack Burton? And he's like, me. And it's really funny. It really, I think, encapsulates the whole big fish in a small pond. Or, sorry, it's the opposite of that. It's a small fish in a big pond, I guess. I don't know if that analogy really works then, if that's the case. Also, if I haven't already said this before, Kurt Russell is one of the coolest human beings to have ever lived. He's just a badass. Like, in every single movie he's in, he's a total badass. I love him. He's awesome. I love him in Tombstone. I love him in this film. I love him in everything I've seen him in. I love him in Escape from New York. I haven't seen The Thing yet, which I'm going to talk about. Actually, I actually haven't seen Escape from New York. I've seen Escape from LA, which isn't as good, but I still like him as an actor. But I think this is like one of the only John Carpenter films I've really ever seen. I think I've seen one or two more, but this is a big one. I still need to see The Thing. I still haven't seen They Live, which I really want to see. I really want to watch They Live. Oh, I've seen Halloween, of course. I'm not a big fan of Halloween because I'm not a big fan of horror films, but maybe I'll rewatch it soon. One thing I also really like about this film is how I think it takes homage from some other Hong Kong films in the sense of normally in a film like this, you'd have these evil Asian characters who do all this stuff. Meanwhile, the white savior is here to come save the day and is way smarter than all of them. But in this situation, Jack Burton is dumb, in the sense of, because all the other characters around him are this is normal, dude. You just don't know this. Now, of course, it's black magic. It's magical stuff, and they're acting like it's normal. And he's like, what the hell? He's just so confused, but he's just dealing with it. But normally in a film like this, the main character would figure out pretty quickly what's going on and have a way to overcome it that all the other characters wouldn't be able to come up with. But in this, he's just I've got a gun and I'm just gonna run in and try my best. The way he beats Lopan is so funny and it's just so unexpected. It's almost anticlimactic, but at the time, it's super awesome, and I loved it. Also, there's some really good scenes of real kung fu stuff, real hand-to-hand combat stuff, which is always fun to watch. I love a lot of that. So I've talked about what happened in the film, and I've talked for a little bit, and I've talked about how I liked it, but I'm gonna go a bit more in-depth into some of the other things I feel about the film. I really like the acting in this film. I think that all the actors do a terrific job making this at least somewhat convincing for an 80s goofy action film. I thought the writing was good, even though the writing's not supposed to be anything special, it's an action movie, just have fun. There's some action movies that have really great writing, like Die Hard, which is one of my favorite action movies ever. The special effects were good for the time, it's interesting and fun to watch. There's this weird monster thing throughout the movie. I'm not going to say too much more, but that actually looks really good for some good old practical effects. So a little bit more about John Carpenter. John Carpenter is one of the best directors of all time. He made The Thing, this film, They Live, Halloween movies, Escape from New York, all sorts of great stuff like that. And I feel like I am doing a disservice by not watching enough of his films. Also, I thought for a second I'd recommend some Hong Kong Kung Fu films if you want to get into that. If you like this film, if you want to get into a little bit of Hong Kong Kung Fu Chop Suey films, I'd give you a couple to watch. Some of the first few, you'd have to go with some Jackie Chan stuff. You gotta have Drunken Master, Project A, Police Story 1 and 2, Criterion Collection is going to be releasing Police Story 1 and 2 on Blu-ray in April, and I'll be getting that on Blu-ray. I already have it pre-ordered. Also, of course, you gotta go for some Bruce Lee movies. Bruce is the master. He is the original. You have to watch Fist of Fury. The American title is Fist of Fury. In Hong Kong, it's called The Big Boss. So Big Boss, then Fist of Fury, which is, in America, it's called something else. I think it's called The Chinese Connection or something like that. And then Enter the Dragon, Way of the Dragon, all sorts of stuff like that. Don't watch Game of Death. Game of Death isn't very good. People say Game of Death is good. It's not. It's horrible. Game of Death 2 is one of the worst films I've ever seen. It's an insult to Bruce's name. And also, when you're watching a Bruce Lee film, he's only got a couple films he actually made. He died way too early. He died at the age of 32. Sorry, he died at the age of 33 in the year 1973. Because I think he was born in 1949, but he hadn't hit his birthday yet that year. So he passed away due to a allergic reaction to heart medication, is what I believe it was. And then, of course, you know about Brandon Lee, about him dying from a malfunction on the set of The Crow, which is very unfortunate. Also, I would suggest some Jet Li movies, but Jet Li is not from Hong Kong. He's from mainland China. So I'll have to talk about that another time. I'd also say The Raid, but that is not Chinese at all. That is, I think, Thai or Taiwanese. I think it's Thai. I'll have to check. My friend's watching it today, but I can't remember where it's from. So, overall, guys, Big Trouble in Little China, you should definitely check it out. I loved it a lot. Check out lots of Kurt Russell films. Check out tons of Kung Fu films. Watch all the John Carpenter films. Make sure to watch this. Make sure to watch this review and all my upcoming reviews. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the little notification bell. And also check out the description for all my cool friends who do all sorts of awesome stuff, like my boy, Avant-Garde Criminal, who makes my thumbnails for me. He's from Russia, and he's a badass. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching. So I forgot to say what movie I'm watching for my next episode. I'm actually going out to the movies tonight with someone to go see Isn't It Romantic, starring Rebel Wilson, which I don't know about the quality of that, but we'll see, and let's see if I enjoy it, and that'll be my next review. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Ryan's Reviews, 100 episodes, 100 films in 100 days. I said 100 episodes there, that was stupid of me. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.